Hello and welcome to the Crow's Nest. My name is Brandon Kane, and I am a little hair late here as our Mariners were able to put a run up in the first inning here against the Tigers on the road in the first game of a new series here. But we're up and live now, going along, cooking along here, so we're going to take in a little bit of an Friday afternoon game. The sun is finally starting to come out here. Spring is fully into bloom. So let's see if we can get a win here for our Mariners today. It's been a little bit up and down for them as of recent. They're 18-19 right now, so I know it's been somewhat of a kind of a couple steps forward, one step back, it feels like a little bit, but they are making some noise. And if a couple of these bats do start to turn around in this lineup, specifically I'm looking at you, Julio, we could certainly see this team start to go on a run just around the time period that they went on a run last year, which would be nice to see. So there have been some encouraging signs with some of the stuff that's discouraging, but overall, I think we just got to remain patient with this season and let this process kind of play out to see where this team's really going to land. They still do have a lot of talent, and I think being that they are a home run hitting team, that this is going to be one of those situations where they are probably going to do better when the ball starts flying a little bit more easily out of the ballpark. Marco Gonzalez will take the hill today, 2-0 record, 4.70 ERA for the Mariners. I think he's been a fairly stabilizing force. He's not been great, but he's given you what you've kind of hoped to get out of Marco, especially losing Robbie Ray. You have your one injury, so to speak, that you've kind of already built in. Now you got to kind of work around it a little bit here. But Marco will come out in the hill. Let's see if he's got his placement today with his pitches. That's always going to be the particular key with Marco Gonzalez. Matt Vierling is the first batter here up at the plate. And he quickly gets him 1-2. Nitro Hawk, how's it going, man? It's good to see you. Nitro says, why do I think Julio is struggling so much? I did do a little bit of a deep dive. I haven't been doing as much on the Mariners stuff, but I've been trying to get back into this with football season turning over. And, based on what I can tell with it, the exit velocity off of his bat is still commensurate with last year. I think there's a little bit of that in there where he's, not necessarily having balls landed in place. There's a little bit of the hard luck there with it, just a bit. I think that the thing, though, that stands out that's really at the forefront of this here is the controlling of the zone. He's already, I think, set a career high in strikeouts last month. He's going to be right around that same mark again this month that he's on pace through 12 days of this new month period. That ball is hit hard, but right at Teoscar Hernandez. That'll be out number one. So he's going to have to learn to get better control of that zone. We saw with Jared Kelenic last year, this was an issue Jared has had to kind of solve in his own game to get to where he's gotten. And it's not a surprise. The young players got to figure that out. Teams have a lot of tape on Julio through last year, and they're going to scout you, and they're going to learn what pitches give you problems. They're going to learn what pitches and what counts give you problems. And now after all that advanced data has taken place, how do you adjust to it? And that's the next step for Julio in his career. I do think he'll eventually get it done. Maybe not easily, but it'll take a little bit of working it out. But the good news is that it's nothing from a physical standpoint. It's all just, again, how baseball can be, which is so much of a mental sport at times. This hit off the end of the bat by Javier Baez. A nice little pitch there by Marco Gonzalez. Got him to reach out across over the plate, and that will be out number 2 to Julio. But I do think he, when it's all said and done, is going to be just fine. But, he is a young kid, and young kids are going to take that time to kind of get that going, and understandably so. All right, Marco up here now. First pitch strike. Riley Green hits a foul ball. So Marco pounding the zone early on. It's good to see. Megan, how you doing, Megan? It's good to see you. She's Crow's Nest morning. I just woke up and I'm pretty low after yesterday, so I'm here. Just, do you think Robbie Ray was a huge loss for the team? I like him, but was truly struggling. I think if you have a healthy Robbie Ray, it's definitely a loss. I never thought he was a guy that was a front-end rotation guy, Megan, where he was really going to hold it down in that way. But that he could be an innings eater, that he was a guy that could strike people out. This ball is hit hard on the ground, down into the corner, and this is going to get down for extra bases. So with 2 outs, runner quickly on second here for the Tigers. So it is a loss, Megan, and you're going to have to find a way to fill that hole throughout the course of the season. You need to find somebody who can get that 200 innings. I think that if you went into a playoff series at this point, you're going to be calling on Castillo, Gilbert, Kirby. Those are your three guys you're probably really going to look to have pitch if you have to go to if you do get the chance to go to a playoff series. So, he really isn't in line to do that. But, if you're looking at a place where if the bats can just heat up, then the Mariners could maybe a little more thoroughly target in on a pitcher maybe around the trade deadline to bring in that way to fill in for Robbie. But that is, we're going to have to wait for a little bit of time on that one. We got bouncing ball here. It's going to be a tough play for Crawford. He's up with it. Has to hurry on up and gets the throw off. Route number 3. Nitro Hawk says, are you planning on streaming Mariner games a lot more now that we're past the draft and schedule release? Indeed, I am. Yes, I'm going to be planning on definitely this next month here as we go forward. We've got, about 20 days left in this month approximately. So if I can get a good 14, 15 games streamed this month, get another maybe 20 games next month, that would be kind of my hopeful goal, Nitro. That'd put us at about 40 games for the year at that point, which would put me on track for getting the 80 that I was going to be on track for trying to hit if we can pull it off this year. But yeah, these next 2 months are probably going to be the months where I'm doing the most streaming of the baseball games, of course, until you get to start a training camp and whatnot. So from now until about mid-July, we'll definitely be, hammering it. I do think I'm going to take a week off in late June, though, because I think I'm going to go to Hawaii. See the moms. Megan says, I'm avoiding all news on the Kraken so I don't throw the tablet B. I get it. I get it. They definitely have run up against a little bit of a buzzsaw here. So, but they got the puncher's chance still, right, Megan? I mean, this thing ain't over yet. So that's why these are long series. Long series. Plenty of time. Understandable. Understandably upset with that. What do we have happen here in the first? So first inning was like Ty France was able to get on, and Jared Kelenic able to bat him home. Kelenic still hitting 300. That's nice. Kelenic's been able to kind of maintain there. Again, you got a lineup this year that's just, you look up and down the lineup, and Crawford 243, Suarez 220, Teoscar Hernandez 214, Pollock 138. Man, I don't know if it's the stadium or what, but we just cannot get a lineup put together that's just legitimate. Can this overheaded coach the guy let me down, not Pete, the other one? It'll happen. It'll happen. They're a young team too, Megan. It's hard for them to even have the kind of success they've had, being that they are so young. But they're still in it. Well, the Tigers are rocking the pink. Where is it? Mother's Day today? Did I forget Mother's Day? Oh boy. Hope not. Yeah, okay. It's Sunday. I thought I had a couple days. Like, what the heck? Why are they all wearing pink? Maybe it's breast cancer or something, right? Sujin G. Como and Teoscar Hernandez strikes out. Big part of the problem with this lineup is you're going to hope that the home runs come when the weather does heat up, and some of these balls that might be dying on the warning track now are able to carry over the fence. But way too many strikeouts in this lineup for the Mariners. Absolutely ridiculous amount of strikeouts, and so often the strikeouts come from a place of them swinging out of the zone at a pitch that is a ball. There's guys been at least pretty decent for them here. It's been kind of definitely helpful, sort of serving like a last year's Haggerty role here a little bit out the gate, which is Caballero hitting 282, and a little bit of his action there. Or I guess this is Murphy. Sorry, Tom Murphy. My connection went dodgy. Come on. For the love of goodness. Sometimes the connection just goes torquey. Oh, shit. Why am I looking at this? All right. One down here, Pollock up at the plate. My connection back here now. Pollock takes inside. Good pitch by Boyd there on the breaking ball. Got around the inside part of the plate. Nicely done. Boyd with 33 pitches here through an inning and a third, so Seattle is making him work at least. Not even one time through the lineup. Outside, ball 1-1. Megan says tomorrow's here, B. Today is Saturday. I got till Sunday here our time, so I got a little bit of time. Wu-Tang T.O.'s been brutal lately. Yeah, he has. I did not think he was going to struggle. Look, he's going from a Toronto park that's a hitter's park to a, one of the least hitting parks in all of Major League Baseball here in Seattle. But all the same, just not good. We wanted him. We just wanted a marginal improvement, if anything, over the top of what we were getting last year from the position. It's just basically right about the same place. Almost like just anything they do, they're just not able to get just a consistent lineup put together. I feel for Dipoto because it's not for lack of trying. These guys are all just having like sometimes career worst performances up at the plate when they become Mariners. And I don't know if it's that Parks just got people freaked out or whatever. I don't know what the reasoning is, but whatever it is part of it. No snitching, Megan. No snitching. 3-2 here to Pollock. He's going to foul this one straight back as they continue to make Boyd at least work here. Megan says, what do you mean hitting park? So there's certain ballparks, Megan, where the ball might carry better. The fences might be shorter. In baseball, the dimensions are not set. So any ballpark can have any dimensions it basically wants. And so this allows for a lot of unique kind of stadiums that play and parks that play certainly weird. What's unique about the Mariners Park, Megan, is that it's down there near the ocean, and there's a marine layer that basically naturally kind of just knocks the balls down. It doesn't really allow for the balls to carry like they would, let's say, if you were down in Texas or down in Florida. And so on top of it being that the ball doesn't carry there in the baseball stadium, the Mariners in all of their grand, I still don't think that this has actually been for the better thing at the end of the day. I don't think that the thought process on this originally was you build a pitcher's stadium and then you can build a pitcher's rotation and you can have your unique way you go about going out there and winning. But it's really not worked because you've had to suffer so much of the negative side of it being your hitters just can't hit in that ballpark. But between the fences being so far back, Megan, and the marine layer, it's one of the worst hitting ballparks in all of Major League Baseball. Nice eye there by A.J. Pollock. What a nice at bat. Ooh, excuse me. Sneezing here. It's definitely spring. Ethan says, hey, Brandon, will you be doing an M stream this weekend? I have to go to do some stuff. I'm going to try to shoot for, if I can, Saturday. If Sunday's got the early game on there, maybe we'll do one early on Sunday too before I do the Seahawks stream. So if that's the case, we'll try. I'll try to kind of tentatively shoot for both days. The hope is I'm going to be hitting this over the next 2 months, Ethan, as hard as I possibly can. So definitely I'm going to be trying to almost every day if I can aspire to try to shoot for every one. I do know once we get into the mid-July point, it's going to be dialing back a little bit, absent here and there because we'll be in full Seahawk run at that point. All right. So we have 2 men on now. Excuse me. Sorry. The allergies are a little bit dicey today. Caballero is going to come up to the plate. He's been a pretty solid player for the Mariners. I've liked watching him swing the bat. Always seems like he's hitting it hard. 1 out, 2 men on. Swing and a miss right over the top of that one. Black Yoshi, imagine someone telling you that 50 games into the season, Julio was hitting 200 and Kelenic was hitting 300. Yeah, I probably wouldn't have believed it. I'm not completely as shocked about, to me, both of those things that have happened like this aren't completely crazy. With Julio, he is a young guy, and there's a chance he was going to face some adversity at some point. To just come right in and be able to just sort of take off without any of that was very unusual. But yeah, I wouldn't have predicted it, Black Yoshi. I wouldn't have thought this was where this was going to go. That's for sure. Julio will climb out of it, but it is good at least Kelnic's doing what he's doing. And I think that it does where I know we're not there yet right now as far as looking like an elite team. Getting to becoming an elite team, as I've said, is very much going to be on the back of both Jared. Imagine when you have Jared, Kelenic, and Julio both hitting well at the same time, and the rest of the lineup starting to come forward as well. And just how great you could be if that was to occur. It's a what if, but I do think Julio is going to come back into the fray here. Caballero gets a nice hit on this, puts it right down, line drive out to right field. It's hit too hard for the runner to come home, so you're going to have a bases loaded situation. J.P. Crawford's going to come up to the plate, 1 man out. Nice piece of hitting again by Caballero, just going with this pitch, level swing. Drives the breaking ball out to right field. Like how this kid's playing. Really do like how he's playing. Especially when you can get him attacking the splits with the lefties. Interesting. Do you think this guy could do some calculus review? Yeah, that sounds rough. All right, Crawford up to the plate now. Outside ball, good eye. Lefty on lefty here. Big Country says T.O. has to play much better too. He's been dreadful at the plate. Yeah, he needs to at least get up to like 250. Get up to just a functional place. Ball's hit hard on the ground, gets past the second baseman, and he is not able to get back to it. That's going to be a base hit. Crawford hit this line on the ground, and it looked like it might have taken a little bit of a funny hop on the second baseman. We'll see on the replay, but it just dribbled right between his legs. He Bill Bucknered it. Crawford just hit it so hard. He hit it so hard right at him. If you guys ever watch tennis and you get the volleys going back and forth really close to the net, and then one of them swings really hard and it ends up going right at the other person, and they can't do anything about it. Their racket turns weird and they just sort of make a face and it ends up hitting them in the chest. And that was a little bit of what happened there with that line shot by Crawford. So 2-0 now. Mariners are up. Bases still loaded. France up to the plate, 1-0, 2-0. Still only 1 man down. Mark Habercorn, how you doing, man? It's good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Two-0 now. Crawford's going to give himself a pitch here. Ooh, high, almost hits him. I wonder if France is going to swing away here. Or just be taken, and the Tigers are going to start getting their bullpen up and running. Boyd's already up to 50 pitches here. France wiggling that bat. He is taken. It's a nice pitch right on the outside part of the plate for a strike. Mason of the Crow's Nest just realized the Kraken game's on when I'm in church tomorrow. Wonder if Jesus will excuse the cursing. Well, we'll learn if he's a Kraken fan or not, and whether he'll be cursing or not. That'll probably depend on how much he's understanding of it. 3-1. Swing and a miss. That's another one where it's probably ball 4 there if he just lets that go. In my opinion. It's close, but 3-2. Inside ball 4. That will be a walk. Good eye by France. Boyd struggling to find his control here in the second inning. And the Mariners now will go up 4-0 in this game. And Julio Rodriguez steps up to the plate, or 3-0. Sorry, they added an extra run on the plus. Like, we're up to 4. Did I forget one? So we got bases loaded. Julio Rodriguez in a bit of a slump hit here, hitting around 200. Good way to crack out of that here. Ooh, inside, way inside. Boy's just really missing against the righties inside right now. Julio hitting 204 with 6 home runs and 15 ribbies on the year. Julio hits this hard, and it's going to get down. Not quite into the gap, but this should score 2. And it does. Crawford and Caballero come home. Julio with a nice base hit lined out there, and we've got 5-0 Mariners. That away. Let's get on top of this Detroit team in this series and just get it going, shall we? The Detroit Tigers manager is going to come out and make the pitching change. He has seen enough. It's the kind of game you like to give to Marco Gonzalez, too. A guy that's going to want to work the zone. You want to give him a little bit of room for error. Marco might give up a couple runs, but you know he can eat up those innings you're going to want him to eat up in this particular type of game. Great start for the Mariners. Sean Lee, how you doing, man? Go M's. Mark says, I got the Hawks going 13-4, splitting with San Francisco, but don't like the 3 games in 12 days. Not a fan of that either. That's definitely going to be hard from my standpoint to come out of more than with 1 game in that time frame, Mark, but it is what it is, I guess, with it, you know. You just go, all right, this is going to be, we're going to be having to test the depth big time through those 3 games. And why do I say, Mark, that it's so important to look at these teams when we look at building the teams up more so than just the frontline guys that we get concentrated on, you know, looking at more of the, what do you got as far as in your depth? You're going to likely have to call upon your depth. You know, how's that going to look? Who takes us? Julio getting his mojo back? I hope so, man. That might help him. That might help him do so. I like moving him down a little bit more in the lineup as well, because you are giving him more situations, I think, now where he's going to have guys on base, and now there's a little more stress on the pitcher. The pitcher's not able to throw as many breaking balls that he can just bury out of the zone because he doesn't want to walk him when he's got already guys on base potentially at that point. Maybe helps him out a bit. I like that they're doing it. Mr. Isaac, what's up? He says, good stream yesterday. I got off work early and mowed my lawn and planted some flowers and listened to the first 2 hours. Drank some beer. Excellent Friday. Well, thank you, man. It was a good show last night. I had a lot of fun on there talking with Brendan, going over the schedule, kind of breaking it down. And I kind of surprised both. I felt surprised with both me and Brendan coming away with it, how high we were on the schedule as far as how many wins that we did foresee. I didn't necessarily think walking into it, and I did walk into it blind. Didn't necessarily think that that's what we were going to be looking at. And it makes me encouraged for the year. I mean, as Mark was mentioning above there, Mr. Isaac, you know, there's that 12 games is on there, and there is that brutal 4-game stretch. But absent that, everything's pretty reasonable on the schedule. Jared Kelenic out up to the plate. Runners on first and third, 1 out. Mariners up 5-0. See if Kelenic can keep it going here. Takes a breaking ball away. Nice pitch there by the reliever. Strike 1. Kelenic already with a ribby in this game. Julio leading off from first. Definitely a threat to go. J.O. says, just got here. What did Julio do? He just knocked a single with the bases loaded and drove in 2 from second and third. 0-1 here to Jared. Oh, I got him out a little bit ahead. This looks like a double play ball. Oh, throws it away out to the side. And this is going to allow Ty France to score. Mariners will add another run, 6-0. Is that the same second baseman that kind of messed up initially on this? It was going to be a tough double play to turn. No, it's got to be the shortstop there. Boy, he just sailed that one. Ty France couldn't come in initially there because it was hit hard right at the first baseman, who's drawn in a little bit. But then on the throw, able to come in. Mariners making a stand here a little bit. 6-0. And the Tigers showing you why fielding matters in this inning. Okay, so Eugenio Suarez steps up to the plate. Two-0 now. If Eugenio gets a... Ooh, he's going 3-0. Suarez is going to get a pitch he can hit here. Let's just put this up 8-0, shall we? Let's just stick this right up there. Put this out of reach right in the second inning. Eugenio's dug in. He's going to take inside for ball 4. Mariners showing good eye here in this inning. So Julio was able to break out a little bit on his slump earlier in this inning. Let's see if we get both him and Teoscar here to branch on out a bit. Runners on first and second, 2 outs. Mariners up 6-0 here in the top of the second inning. Teoscar is 0 for 1 in this game. Struck out his first at bat. Strike, fastball right down Main Street. Hit up high into the air, skied. Center fielder will come underneath this one and out number 3. Seahawks Brendan Nelson's in the house. What's up, Brendan? Good to see you, man, in the chat. Hope you're doing well. He says positive signs, man. I like getting Marco Gonzalez a nice big fat lead. He's a guy who's going to give you 6 innings and he'll give up 4 runs, but he'll get you through the 6 innings. And these are the exact kind of games, giving him this kind of lead that sets him up right to be able to just keep working the zone, pounding the zone throughout this game, which I hope he does. It's good to see you, Brendan. Hope you're doing well, man. Megan says, I'm sorry, I want to believe we can win 12 games this year, but looking again at the schedule, I'm not sure we get more than 10 or 11, but I can be convinced. Hey, I what came down for me on this one, Megan, was Brendan talked me into the Cowboys sucking, so that's on Brendan and convincing me of that one. But then on what I think stood out to me thinking about it was, Megan, just that there was those 4 or 5 games that were against opponents that are probably at least somewhat close to you on a talent or performative level. And all of those games seemed to land in a place where you were playing those at home. And that just gave me that comfort to draw those wins up a couple extra, whereas if those games had been on the road, if those games had been 10 a.m. games, I might view it a little bit differently. But some of this is also a little bit dependent upon how actually good are the Browns going to be? How good are the Ravens truly going to be? You know, some of these teams that we're not quite sure where they're going to land. It's not 100% clear yet. And they've got some potential, some of these teams do. The Browns with that offensive line and Myles Garrett and a defense with some interesting pieces to it. And, you know, starting to maybe get that offense kind of fully built up there for Deshaun Watson. And what happens if he can tap back into who he was a couple of years ago in Houston. So the schedule can definitely get tougher in other ways too, and it can get weaker in other ways. But yeah, I did feel I wasn't even really in a lot of, I don't know, there wasn't a lot of consternation even about it for me, Megan. Just kind of like, yeah, it just feels like this is what it should be. Marco Gonzalez, first pitch, pounding that zone, gets it to foul it off for strike 1. Brennan is maybe not against the cruddy Tigers lineup. Yeah, I don't think he's going to give up probably 4 to this lineup. And this is going to be just, if I'm Marco, I always used to do this as a pitcher because I was be a lefty that couldn't throw very hard anyway. So if you gave me runs like this, you gave me a 6-0 lead, I am just pounding the hell out of that zone. I'm going to make you beat me. I'm not walking anybody. But yeah, this Tiger team, Brendan, they're dog poo a little bit, aren't they? Really not anybody in this lineup that really scares you. Vierling, Baez, Green, Torkelson, Ibanez, Haas. You still got Miguel Cabrera, but he's hitting 188. Shoop and Rogers. I don't know if I know any of this lineup outside of Cabrera. Oh, did he just hit a home run? As I look away. They're showing a guy walking the bases there. What was that? All right. Oh, he got an out, fly out there. My bad. I was looking at the lineup for a second there. All right, so up comes Eric Haas. He's hitting 293 this year. Inside, 1-1. Black Yoshi, is there a law that all Seahawks streamers must share the same name? We're all born to the same mother and then separated at birth. We had to all go our separate ways and then come back together as one. Another fly out there for Marco Gonzalez to left field. That'll be 2 down now in the inning. It is known, Black Yoshi. It is known. Black Yoshi says Seahawks draft blocks 2 Robs. It's just the way of things, man. I don't know. The universe, keeping things in alignment. Big Miggy Cabrera comes up now. This guy's played like 21 seasons, hasn't he? Probably just going to be his last year, I would say. Swing and a miss. 1-1. Yeah, bat speed's definitely not what it used to be. Miggy's swinging that pink stick up at the plate. Swing and a miss. Marco challenges him with 290-mile-an-hour fastballs, and he swings right through. So you know you're getting old as a baseball player when you can't even turn around a 90-mile-an-hour fastball on back-to-back pitches. High, ball 1. Big Country, the Braves will be a real test next week. Yeah, they will. Yeah, they will. It's going to be a good fight. Ooh, he gets strike 3 on the inside part of the plate. Cabrera doesn't like the call, nor should he. Looked like he was about 2 or 3 inches inside. Marco gets the call for strike 3, but nice job on his part of not messing around this inning, going right after the Tiger hitters. And he gets right out of the inning. 1, 2, and a 3. But remember last year, too, Big Country, that series at home against the Braves, that was one of the better series of the whole year. I think we had a couple comeback wins on that one, and just it felt like it was a dogfight every single game against them and how they played it. That'll be fun to watch that series, though. I'll definitely be streaming a couple of those games. They're a good team. JL says it's the Matrix. It's a limited program. It is, man. We are living in a simulation, and the simulation, can only process so much stuff. And one of the ways to save processing power is to just duplicate. You guys remember that video game that came out a couple of years ago that was about you flying around all those worlds, and there was going to be like 3 billion worlds you could fly to. And all they were doing was just like copying and slightly altering one of the worlds to the next. And that's exactly what you got to do. Megan says, would you and the 12s be upset if I won the Ravens win against us, B? Serious question here. Well, yes, Megan, I would. If you get blowback in the chat, Megan, and you're talking about the Ravens needing to win, you can't be looking at me like, why are they getting mad about this? Like, you're definitely gonna set the chat off with that one if you start going down that road. And I can't protect you on that one. You got to pick one fandom or the other, and Megan, that's the key about being a fan of the NFL. You can have another team that you like, but there is no serving 2 masters here. There is not, I have 2 favorite teams. Well, why not 14 favorite teams, right? You have to pick one. You can like another team, but you got to ride or die with one or the other. You don't get to do the ride or die with 2 different teams in one sport. That runs against all of the spirit of being a fan. This ball is hit by Suarez down the line. It's going to land for a double. Gets down into the corners by Murphy, sorry. Murphy will grind on in for a double here. That was right on the line. Mariners keep hitting. Gonzalez did a good job getting this lineup right back out there after a hot inning last inning. William Leonard, happy Friday. Go M's. Looking pretty good so far. And Murphy didn't do too much with the difference. Just went with that pitch. Put a good solid stroke on it. It's good to have Tom Mack this year. Give our catcher a little bit of blow at times. Pollock hits this one up in the air. Foul. Nitrohawk into the multiverse of Brandon's. That's right. Murphy digs this one up into the air short. I don't think it's going to allow Murphy to be able to get over from second. That'll be out number one. John Lee, it will be nice if we could sweep the Tigers, make up a little bit of space here, make up a little bit of ground. For me, right now, it's just about the Mariners kind of positioning themselves to get into July. Have yourself maybe a few games above 500, and now you really lock it into place. You know, maybe Dipoto trader Jerry can go out there and make a deadline move to just kind of inject a little bit more into the team, be it a starter, maybe a positional player somewhere, but just need the bats to warm up and this thing to kind of come together a little bit. 1-0 here to Caballero. He's going to hit this up into the air high and deep to center field, but center fielder's underneath, so that will be 2 out. Murphy's actually going to tag up and go over to third there on the play. So 2 men out here in the third inning. But Sean, that sweep would definitely help things, wouldn't it? Get you above 500. Got the Braves series up next week. That would be good. All right, Crawford up to the dish now. 2 men down. Crawford put a nice swing last time. Really got things kind of kicked off and started for the Mariners. Takes first pitch strike on the outside part of the plate. Crawford hitting .250 with 1 ding-dong this year and 16 ribbies. 0-1. Outside, ball 1. Megan says, to be truthful, B, the Ravens game was the one I really had to think about. There we go, Megan. Black Yoshi, stay above the Astros for as long as possible. Yep, that's right. This ball's hit foul, and ooh, nice play by the third baseman. He digs it out. Looked like it was going to get back into the crowd, but able to steal that one away a bit, and that will be out number 3. So we go into the bottom of the third. Mariners up 6-0 here. That's how I look at Black Yoshi, though. Just stay up above. You're going to have to go on a run at some point this year. I think the team's going to be at its hottest hitting point. Home runs are going to fly. Once you get a little bit into the heart of summer when the ball's really starting to carry, then at that point, when the hitters are finally kind of caught up to the pitchers a little bit. And that's, to me, much as it was last year about the spot in the schedule that you were really able to take off, I see very much the same this year. So get yourself above 500. Certainly, if we can do more than this, we can put a little bit more work than that in, then great. But put yourself into that position, get yourself set up to make that run at that time, and everything is still within possibility this season. Megan says, it's a win-win either way for me, but who do I want to win more? The Ravens? Megan, you're speaking sacrilegious in here right now, okay? There's literally a demon emerging over your shoulder with this talk. I'm going to need an old priest, and I'm going to need a young priest if you keep going down that road. Black Yoshi's got it right. Yoshi's got it right. Blazers in the heat. Megan says, hey, B, I'm waiting for you to say what you promised, so I don't care. I made no such promise. I made no such promise. All right, let's see if Marco can keep it going here. 29 pitches for Marco so far, 20 strikes. It's a good sign for him. He's got that control rolling. First pitch ball here. He says, no promise, huh? Fine. Ravens win. Your disdain for Jay-Z matters not to me anymore, B. Fair enough. Black Yoshi, Geno's going to run all over Jackson. Hell yeah, I'm with it. Ooh, base hit out to left field, just past the diving outstretch. J.P. Crawford for Shoop. Get you a runner on here to start things off. Megan says, I knew full well you were never going to say it. Well, Megan, I made the promise to say it if Jalen Carter was drafted. I didn't say I was just going to say it for the hell of it. I had to get something out of that scenario too. Me just saying it without having not got anything out of it. That's not a two-way street on that deal. I agreed to something very specifically. Very specific. High. Ooh, and give him a strike. Strike one there. Strong mustache here for Jake Rogers. Only his handlebar mustache could get that batting average up a little bit higher. Only hitting 179 on the year. That mustache is bigger than his arms. Beefy. He's got a beef stash. Outside, ball 1-1-2. You don't want the beard getting to beef stash state. It's a little ungainly at that point. 1-2 here to Rogers. Inside. Marco hit his spot. They were trying to get Rogers to chase there, and he didn't. It's a nice pitch by Marco, though. He hit his spot right where Murphy had him set up. 2-2 pitch now. Fouled. Rogers hits himself in the head with his pink bat. Stupid. So stupid. This ball's hit up into the air. Kelnick giving chase. He's got a track on it, able to bring it in. One man down. Nice job by Jared. Got a good little jump on that off the bat. Nitro says, if you could change one play in Seahawks history besides the real obvious one that I don't want to name, what would it be? It's a good question. Strike. Outside part of the plate there. 0-1. I would probably go with one of two plays. The ball's hit up into the air, skied high. Teoscar's underneath it, though, for out number 2. So there's obviously a part of me that's like, well, let's just take one of the real other key plays in that New England game away. And Nitro, you've got your win in that Super Bowl, right? And it already came down to that beast mode play. So if you just took out one of those drives by the Patriots, then, you very likely at that point win that game. But I don't think that that's really in the spirit of your question to answer it that way. Because we're trying to find a different kind of game, I guess, that we'd be talking about, Like, I might very well say, I would take away almost the Jeremy Lane interception at the start of that game, just so I have Jeremy in that game through the rest of it. And I think we win if we have Jeremy Lane throughout the whole course of that game and not Thorold Simon lined up in the slot. 0-1 here for Marco. Swing and a miss. 0-2 to Javier Baez. No relation to Joan Baez. How many roads must a wise man walk? Got 0-2, runner on first, 2 men out. Swings out of the zone there. Marco got him to chase and bounces it right back to Marco, who throws it over to Ty France at first for out number 3. Mariners retire the side here with Marco. He is locked in. Locked on in here. Mariners up 6-0. So I'm going to go with the Falcons missing the kick at the end of the game in 2012, because if we win that game, we go back to the Niners home. We've got their number at that point. Carroll has solved Harbaugh at that point. We have solved the Niners. And then we go to the Baltimore Ravens in the Super Bowl, and I think we take the Baltimore Ravens out to the woodshed, and we smack them right on their cheeks. That's how I see it. Big Country, Raleigh Fingers had the best stash. If you can commit to the twirling off of the stash, it's a deep commitment. It's a huge commitment, but it's one that does seem to be, you create a lot of swag with that spinning of the ends of the mustache thing that like Raleigh had. And it does give you an extra bit of power. That's not to be denied. If you're a pitcher, that's at least worth 3 miles an hour fast burner and fastball if you got that kind of stash. But you got to walk around with it day to day. That's where it's a little bit of, there is an offset. Megan says, no, you wouldn't. Ravens win that Super Bowl. We'd slap those cheeks, Megan. Just red cheeks after what we'd be done with them. Our team was rolling. Mark says, B, that was Peter, Paul, and Mary's song. Laughing out loud. It all runs together in my mind, Mark. All the same thing to me. Megan says, Jim Zorn not breaking his ankle, so Dave Craig became quarterback. Oh, Lordy. Oh, Lordy. Brian Wu had a great night for AA last night. 7 innings. Black Yoshi, the Atlanta Super Bowl taught us one thing. The Patriots with Brady are like Jason. They always come back. They are. You get him dead on the floor, and all of a sudden he raises back up and just like with how, Brady couldn't move very well, Jason couldn't move very well. Remember, he's always just walking after people, but eventually always catches up. They always trip or something. You always end up tripping. 1-1 here to Ty France, starting off this 4th inning. He fouls it back for 1-2. Nitro Hawk, it's crazy how injured we were in that game, and if we just didn't do that stupid play, we would have had a dynasty. Potentially, Nitro Hawk. It's one of the videos that I'm turning over with doing on the channel, and one that I've been thinking about for a very long time to do. I think that there's been enough time that's gone by, and that ball's fouled, so we're running 1-2. Enough time has gone by to where I do believe that we can start to maybe relook at that play a little bit, because I've got to be honest, it's one of the things that most drives me crazy that I hear and see on the channel that gets repeated so very often, and it's one that France puts a nice swing on this, but just drives it up in the air to center fielder, and Green's right underneath it. But it's one that I think kind of makes things real simplistic in that situation, and things weren't so simplistic. And that is to say, well, just should have run it. If we run it, then everything would have been solved. It would have been great. And really this is why I think it's worthy, Nitro, of me doing a video on this, because you really got to dive into that moment and all of the factors of what was going on. Specifically, the fact that the Patriots called their defense and their formation and their personnel, Julio first pitch swinging, and this is part of the problem here with Julio, is just, again, and he's going to be safe because it's another bad throw by the Tigers. Not only can they not hit, they can't field. But Julio's got to stay patient at times in that batter's box. You feel him out there wanting to just let it rip. But, in Madden Nitro Hawk, you'll have times where, in Madden, the way it works when you are on defense is that you first wait for the offense to call their formation. Oh, they're going to 3 wide. Oh, they're going to an I formation. Oh, they're going to 4 wide. Then you call your defense up commiserate with what that formation is they call. The Patriots went to a heavy formation right out the box. So they brought the extra defensive lineman up there specifically to stop the run. Now, Seahawks could have countered that as well by going heavy, but you gave the Seahawks then an advantage there. Kelnick up to the plate now. First pitch swinging as well, and he's going to knock this foul. 0-1. But they've given you an advantage there because you can now go to 3 wides and you're going to have a potential mismatch. I don't like the play call necessarily, but the thought process that they were just going to go heavy and give the ball to Marshawn and Marshawn was going to score, no doubt about it. Well, the data doesn't back this up because Marshawn Lynch had been at the goal line about, and I've got the data collected on this Nitro, so I'll do a video on this where I'll be able to supply the data and how it actually shows out. But you had like 7 attempts with Marshawn Lynch at the goal line in 3rd and goal, 2nd and goal type situations. He didn't score 1 time throughout the course of the year in those situations. So running goal line and jamming Marshawn up the middle, in theory, sounds like it's a no-doubter that it would have worked. And Jared's going to hit this right up the middle, and this will be a double play ball, and we'll end the inning. But that's not exactly necessarily how it would have gone, at least as far as what the data tells us on that. I hate the play call, but I understand it wasn't stupidity that went into it necessarily. That move by the Patriots, and it's kind of a brilliant move there by Belichick to say, oh no, we'll just go right to heavy. We're not going to wait to see if you go 3 wide. We'll just go right to heavy formation. We're going to put that extra defensive lineman down there no matter what. Kind of push things in a way there to make that a little bit different. Megan say, has AB, did Dave Craig ever win Rookie of the Year? I think he was sitting on the bench in his first year behind your man Zorn. Megan's corrected Mark. Mark corrected me. Megan corrected Mark on the song. Oh, Lordy. Nitro Rock the play wasn't as stupid as people think. It really was a Nitro. And on top of that you hadn't done as well in goal line situations with Marshawn that year. You had a tremendous amount of success on those kind of pick plays that was what we ran. I don't like the fact they ran it. I wish they hadn't, but you had a lot of success in goal line situations running that particular pick play. I would have loved to have, the right answer in that situation is, okay, you go 3 wide, but then you run play action. You have the Patriots completely loaded up there to stop the run. You run play action up the middle. You move Russell Wilson out on a bootleg, and you give Russell basically 1-2 reads. And if those 2 reads aren't there, he either tries to run it in himself or he just throws it away. That to me is the right play there. So throwing it was actually kind of the right move. They just sort of chose, and even the play they chose wasn't stupid. It wasn't stupid. It just probably wasn't the right play. But it does drive me crazy when people come in the chat. They're just like, should have ran it. Like, no, not necessarily. I get where people are coming from to think that would have brought more success, but they'll say it like there was guaranteed success, and it wasn't guaranteed success going to Marshawn there. All right, so Marco back out with a 1-1 count here. Bottom of the 4th inning. He's got 42 pitches for the game, so he's rolling along pretty well. Tiger hitter Riley Green about swung out of his shoes. Knocks it to second base, and he'll get thrown out. Megan says Jim Zorn did in his first year. Hashtag just saying. Well, Jim Zorn didn't have a Jim Zorn ahead of him in the depth chart that he had to overcome. He had a new franchise, so it was kind of like the job's just going to be given to him. Nice pitch there by Marco. Strike. Doing a good job just pumping the zone. Don't walk. Don't put batters on. Throw strikes. Make them swing the bat. Especially in a lineup like this that is so very weak. Black Yoshi, quick question about the play. Were they trying to kill time on the clock or go for the win? Go for the win, Black Yoshi. Because you're offensively speaking, to take you into the mind of Bevel there. So he gets in his headset. His assistants tell him, they're going to a heavy formation. They're going to goal line, is what he hears. And then he goes back to him. He says, wait, they're not waiting to see what we put out as a formation? And then his assistants who are looking up from the top of the booth, seeing what the Patriots are doing and saying, no, they're going to goal line. Bevel then goes, okay, what's been the most, so let's go to pass, let's go to 3 wide, and what's been the most successful pass play for us down near the goal line this season in these type of situations. That's what that whole freaking sheet that he's got that they're looking at is telling them. That's what the assistants are telling him. He has that data in his preparation for these kind of situations. And what it had told him, and this ball's hit hard. Boy, he dug that one out low. It looked like he was going to get a good bit on it, but it just dies down. Detroit's another one of those parks where you've got to really give it a ride to knock it out. That'll be another out for out number 2. So, no, they were trying to go for the win, Black Yoshi. It was them saying, let's attack this heavy formation and let's, get one of our guys out on the edge and let's use this route that's been so successful for us this year in getting touchdowns. You'd scored a lot of touchdowns off that pick play. But Bevel's information wasn't also telling him that the guy that you got to pick on that play is Brandon Browner, who's probably the toughest cornerback to run that kind of pick in the entire league. So that's one thing that maybe should have overridden that from his thought process a little bit. This ball's hit right on the ground. This will be a base hit back up the middle with 2 outs. Abanya strokes it through. Good job here by Gonzalez, keeping the ball low in the zone as well. He's not getting it elevated. Even when these guys do hit it hard, they're hitting it hard right at that bottom of the zone where it's hard to get any kind of lift on the ball. Base hit, maybe a double he'll give up, but nothing really struck really, really hard. Megan says, please, excuses. Well, just the reality of it. Excuses or explanations, Ball's hit up in the air. France is there. And France couldn't quite come down with it. Made a good run of it. Megan says, the not enough coffee, stubborn thing I warned you about, B. You did warn me. France ran into that little deal there. I think it kind of threw him off. Lieutenant says trying the run was low cost. You could have tried to just run into it there, look beyond the numbers, said, hey, we got beast mode, just run it through. I think that could have been, just as much the fine move to go with. I don't think there's anybody who does push for that are wrong either, to say, hey, just try to run at that moment. Look beyond the stats. You got beast mode. You're in this crazy moment in this game. Marshawn's run really well for you throughout the course of the game. Take that into account and just hit it, go. I can get where people go from on that. But it's just the one place I draw the line is where you get to that guaranteed spot where people go, well, if you'd run, it would have been a guaranteed Super Bowl, guaranteed dynasty win. It would have had a good chance, would have had a chance, but guarantees, I don't know about that necessarily. 1 and 2 here. Gonzalez getting right on top of this count. 2 men out, bottom of the 4th inning. Mariners up 6-0. Owen J. Zorn was the second in the ring behind you know who. Indeed he was. 1-2. Fouled off by Eric Haas. Megan says, why were the assistants telling him? Why were the assistants? Shouldn't Pete be telling him, or have I missed something? No, he's your offensive coordinator. Pete's not calling the plays. Pete's going to have input maybe and have a bit of some say-so in certain situations. But it's all going very fast. And I think the mechanics of it are he gets instructed about the personnel grouping that's out the play. This ball hit off the end of the bat. Teoscar is coming up. He'll make the play, and that'll be out number 3. So we get through the end of the 4th. Mariners maintain a 6-0 lead. So the offensive coordinator is being given information by the guys that are up in the booth, Megan. The guys in the booth are looking down and they're seeing that the Patriots are bringing out the goal line formational package for their defense. They instruct him of that at that point. But they could be providing him all sorts of information. Like I says, the day you could be liking Dave over Jim is when it's a frosty, cold day in hell. Well, that's the difference here, Megan. I'm not trying to make you like Dave more than Jim, but you were trying to make me like Jim more than Dave. I just can't. Black, who was the fullback then? Robinson or the deaf guy? The deaf guy. Whose name was Coleman? I'm going to go with Coleman. Final answer. How much timeouts did we have? I believe we had one timeout left at that point. Megan says Dave was the 8th in the ring, I believe. That sounds right. That does sound correct, Megan. Keeping it real on Megan, I think that they sometimes are a little bit too much with the amount of people in the Ring of Honor, just in general. I feel like it should be a little bit more of a hallowed area. They went from a tampon commercial with like big girls, and they're like showing the tampon, and then it fades out on the tampon, and then the next shot is a Jack in the Box cheese stick that's got some like a close up of a cheese stick in somebody's hand, and they're breaking it apart and splitting it open all gooey style. Right after the last shot you saw was a maxi pad, basically. And they go from one to the other. Oh my God, that was horrible. Is anybody else watching Root Sports and they see that cut between those two? Somebody's having some fun with that one. I was like, it was the girls talking about their tampon, then it cut to somebody going, and you're like, what is this? What is this? Elijah Owens is still talking about football. I thought it was baseball. Well, I'll talk about anything that's going on, my man. If it's something happening, we'll talk baseball. If somebody asks me about football, we'll talk about football. It's kind of whatever's on the docket that the chat wants to talk about, you know? A little bit of this, a little bit of that. It's hard to kind of enforce when you start going down. Elijah saying, oh, well, I want to just have us just talk about baseball, and then you constantly find yourself being in kind of a dickish situation where people come in and start and talk football, and you go, we don't talk about that here. And it's like, okay, you know, you kind of come off like an a-hole if you do that. So I don't mind talking about any of the sports. We'll talk baseball and football too. So I talk about Mariners over on the football side as well. Nitro says that commercial sounds devious. It was very devious. Threw me for a little bit of a loop there. We can't talk about hockey. We can talk about hockey too. We'll talk about anything, man. Brando says it's a good thing I don't eat cheese sticks. Laugh my ass off. Well, I don't eat cheese sticks anymore now after that commercial. I'll tell you that. Cure yourself a cheese stick, love. That'll do it. It is so wrong, Megan. And it was the dissolve. Like they dissolve from one to the other. So it was that dissolve shot where you're looking at one thing and then it just slowly becomes something else. Whether as opposed to like a fade or something. Black Yoshi 2-0 Florida over Toronto. Oh, those poor Toronto Maple Leafs. Kraken need to win big time, that's for sure. Strike here to Eugenio, 0-1. Top of the fifth inning here. Vest now out on the mound here for the Tigers. Their third relief pitcher of the day. Hit foul, 0-2. Mariners with 6 runs on 6 hits. Tigers with the 3 hits, no runs, 2 errors to go in addition to that. Gonzalez worked 4 innings of work here with 1 strikeout, lowering down his ERA here to 4.15. Eugenio takes a ball, 1-2. They set that up high in the zone, and he gets up on it. Boy, Eugenio put a nice little swing on it, but just didn't get any real true lift. Looked like he got the fat portion of the bat on the ball, just nothing really working with it. Brando says the Ravens just traded Za'Darius Smith to the Browns for nothing. Really? Why would they do that? Didn't they just bring Za'Darius Smith over, though? Like, because wasn't Za'Darius Smith on the Vikings? Do you mean the Vikings, Brando? I thought Za'Darius Smith was on the Vikings last year. Teoscar hits this one hard into the gap. Center fielder is on it. Out number 2. Good swing by Teoscar. Just got a little bit underneath it. Oh, okay, Brando. I was going to say that. I was trying to do the math on that one. Okay, so yeah, it's the Vikings. Yeah, they're trying to dump salary. I think Vikings are in a little bit of a place this year of where they're going to be starting to kind of embrace a bit of a rebuild there from where they were. They're going to be in the process of getting out from under the Cousins contract after this year. They moved on from Thielen. You know, they're definitely, I think Harrison Smith's going to start getting to be on probably his last year. So they're in a little bit of that mode of where I think kind of the Cardinals, Rams are in. We were talking about this last night where there's a lot of teams that are going to be in that sort of have-not mode this year. Tom Murphy steps up to the plate and quickly finds himself in an 0-2 hole. Murph had a nice little double in his last at-bat down the line. It's this one meekly out there to second, just off the end of the bat, and that will be out number 3. So Mariners down in order here in the top of the 5th inning, 1, 2, 3, and that will take us to the bottom of the 5th. Black Yoshi says ESPN and Sportsnet are going to scream no Boston, Toronto, LA, or any big markets left for hockey. Yeah, that's kind of rough. It's kind of rough. Sean Lee rookie minicamp this weekend. Looks like they're already going. I was noticing some pictures of them out there rolling, getting it going. It's good to see. Guys looking good out there. Nitro says Vikings already in rebuild while their Super Bowl window was trash. Yeah, it's a weird thing, right, Nitro? Because they're in a rebuild, but like rebuilding from what? From what? It's true. But good on them. At least they recognize they don't have the unit to do it. They're not looking at last year going, well, we made the playoffs. So, I mean, hey. No, you're recognized going, no. Sean Lee excited to see these youngsters look. I am too, man. See what they can get it done. We'll get some good reports, I'm sure, out of minicamp too about, how who's looking, who's standing out. Have a great day. Says moving JP up in the batting order is already paying off. I would say so. Especially, I think the problem that's come into play with Julio here is the lack of the controlling the zone, swinging at too many bad pitches. The leadoff guy's got to be a guy that gets on base. The leadoff guy's got to be that guy that's going to eat some pitches up, make the pitcher work. Try to hit to contact a little bit at times rather than trying to just park it. Julio's long-term, I think, place in this lineup is in the middle of the lineup anyway when it's all said and done. They almost put him up there, I think, at the top as much as anything because at that time you had Crawford kind of starting to struggle last year, and it's like, well, we don't really have anybody that's, as good as what Julio could do, especially with his ability to steal bases. But I think Julio is a little more dangerous if you put him a little bit deeper into the other parts of the lineup. Miguel Cabrera will step up in here now to the bottom of the 5th inning and lead things off. Marco Gonzalez has worked really quickly. He has just absolutely pounded the zone. 60 pitches, but 40 of those pitches have been strikes. Ball, high, 2-0. Black Yoshi helps to finish the rebuild before you start one. It does. It does. I think they eventually just got to the part where they went, Kirk Cousins is not going to get this done for us. And how do we pivot off that? What's the next best pivot from that? Especially because we just kind of married ourselves to him this next year when we gave him the last contract last year, I think, on a 2-year deal. And boy, not good there for Marco. Exactly the opposite of what you want to do here, where he walks Miguel Cabrera on 4 pitches. Come on, man. This is the opposite of what you've been doing here so far. You make them swing the bat. Sean says, nice to see Kelnick holding off now on the bad pitches. It is. He's doing the thing that we want to see Julio start to do as he goes forward, which is doing more of controlling the zone, having an actual plan as he approaches the plate. And a plan not just about swinging as hard as you can from your heels. A lot of what Kelnick's approach has been built on this year is utilizing the opposite field, letting the pitch get very deep into him in that batter's box, so you can recognize not only what pitch it is, but where the final bit of movement is going on that pitch. When you're trying to yank and pull things, you're getting out ahead in that and the front side of that plate. It's a little bit less reaction time that you sometimes have. And Gonzalez gets Shoop into an 0-2 count and buries 1-2 on the third pitch here. Then we get a little double play ball here. Sounds good, Megan. See you back in a sec. Ball hit up into the air, skied right at Julio. He takes a couple steps back, gathers it in for out number 1. He says, I'm not making you like Jim. I am helping you see why I'm right and you were so wrong. All right, ball 1. One and one. Jake Rogers up the plate, batting 9th in the order. Nitro says, this is maybe weird to say, but I feel like Drew Lock might have a better shot at winning a Super Bowl than Kirk Cousins. I think we know what Cousins is at this point, Nitro. I think that's where that comes from, is there's still a little bit of the magical unknown upside that could exist with Drew Lock that does not exist in Kirk Cousins. And so, yeah, I think that we after you play this many years, if you're Kurt, you've been in the league this many years, you've been on this many different teams, you've had this many opportunities to show that you can be the guy, that you're not going to eventually turn into the pumpkin like he eventually does. But Cousins is what he is. Not a bad quarterback, but also a guy that even if you put a team, oh my gosh, Rodgers hammers this pitch and he's going to send it back into the seats for a home run. Gonzalez left one hanging right over the middle of the plate, and Rodgers took it for a ride. So 6-2 Mariners now. I told you that the stash is worth a couple extra points on the power. It's undoubted. Especially that handlebar stash. And this is why it sucks on the Cabrera walk. Make them swing the bat from the start. You can handle the Rodgers home run here, but you put Miggy on a 4-pitch walk. There's no reason to do a 4-pitch walk to a guy hitting 185. The part as a pitcher you got to fight yourself with when you got this kind of lead with it. And he is, I don't know if maybe it is that Gonzalez is starting to get a little bit tired here, but that pitch he just went 0-1 here, and it is starting to elevate a little bit. Back down. Tom, get it back down. Like even Tom's setting up a little bit high here. He's missing high. Get it. Lock him back down in the low end of that zone. That's where he's been making his money today. Again, they leave it up. I don't know. This is probably just how they're trying to pitch this guy, but one, two. Low, ball 2. Black Yoshi betting on Minnesota in January is like betting against the Giants in January. Exactly. Ball's hit up into the air. He gets that one low. Ty France is going to be underneath this one, and he's going to be able to make the play. So Tigers are able to get a little bit on the board here, but through 5 innings. Oh, yeah. I thought that was the third out. Is that the only out, number 2? My bad. It's only out number 2. Let's see if I can count right here. Gonzalez at 74 pitches now. So you can get through this inning. You can still get him through theoretically a 6th and a 7th. Strike, nice pitch. Bottom of the zone. There we go. That's where we need to be, Marco. Porn stash power. That's right, Sean. Handlebar porn stash power. It is. That's a base hit up the middle. Kelenic gathers it up and gets it in. After Baez took a wide turn. Have a great day, says he looks like Favre. from Super Troopers. He did look like Favre. I'll have a liter of cola. We don't sell a liter of cola, sir. I want a liter of cola. Classic movie. All right, runner on first, 6-2 Mariners. Riley Green up to the plate. Fouls the first pitch off. Lefty on lefty here. Foul back, 0-2. See, Marco kind of tries to give him a swing and one out of the range here. That's what I do. Give him that breaking pitch, fly it, get it right across the plate. Fouls it, gets just a piece of it. Nitro because Drew Lockett actually has good potential. Drew Lockett has legit potential. He's got a good NFL arm, and he can move. And we can say about Denver in that first situation there. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Nice, beautiful pitch there by Marco. And gives up the 2 runs, but still been a very, very strong 5 innings of work here for Marco Gonzalez, working with that lead. Mariners maintain the lead 6-2. You love seeing that. But, yeah, I think Drew Lock's got definitely some potential, Nitro. And the first stop that he had with Denver, now that I think can pretty thoroughly say as we look at that stop look, maybe that Denver offense wasn't very good. There was that theory behind it of it was being held back by the quarterback play, be it Drew Lock or Teddy Bridgewater over the past couple of years. But maybe instead it should have been, you know what? The pass protection with Denver's offensive line sucks. They're not quite as good of a run blocking team as people had thought that they were. The receivers on the edge are not very good at all. They don't have any real tight ends to speak of, and that's what Drew had to work with. And so maybe, they had Fant at that time, so I guess he had a little bit of something to work with there. But, maybe that now makes us re-look at and reevaluate his time with Denver and that failure of his time there in Denver, quote unquote, especially working with Fangio as his head coach. We know those defensive-minded head coaches can get those young quarterbacks sometimes not developed in all of the right kind of ways. Sean Lee, what do I think about Penix? I think Penix has got some real true potential and upside to his game. I think he might have even been a fringe first rounder if he had come out in this last draft, if he had really had a really nice post-draft process and tested really well. But putting up 2 really outstanding potential years of production as he has the opportunity to do so now. If he puts up last year's level of production this year, which there's some good reason to believe that he will be able to, that should cement him as a first-round player. I don't know that he's going to be physically enticing enough for teams to look at taking him in the top 12-ish, but in the top 20, I think he's definitely got certainly a potential of sliding into that with that kind of production. The ball jumps out of his arm. He can move pretty well. The little things that you like a quarterback to do, he's got some skill with that, with moving around in the pocket, going through multiple reads, throwing with anticipation. Some of those things that are secondary type skills that don't always show up as like these eye-popping kind of skills, he's got and are only going to develop, I think, further over this next year. So I do like Penix. I could put it very easily right now, kind of stick him, Sean Lee, right behind your 1 and 2, where he's sort of your third guy right now, behind Caleb Williams, Drake May. Penix is probably the third guy in there as far as going into the next college season and where they rank. Tyler Holton is going to come out here for the Tigers. This will be their, I believe, fourth reliever here in this game. So you have already been able to get into this Tiger bullpen early on in this series, which is always the nice thing in a first game. Up to the plate is going to step Mr. Tom, A.J. Pollock. Pollock takes 0-1 here, swings at a pitch out of the zone, 0-2. Pollock is 0 for 1 with a walk in this game. Batting average sitting right around 136 on the year. Nitro Hawk, who would you want starting? Kirk Cousins, Jerry Jones, or Nacho Libre? Nacho Libre all the time, Nitro. All day, all the time. I know what I'm getting with those other two guys. Ooh, he almost got an AJ to swing another one out of the zone, but he took there. So 1-2. Good eye by AJ. That was a tough pitch. Hit off the end of the bat foul, staying alive. Black Yoshi, why not Al Davis? No Al Davis. That'd be the worst. I'd take Jerry Jones out of over Al Davis. Foul back by Pollock again, staying alive. Staying alive. Staying alive. Huh, 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 huh. Hit out to right field. Late start on it by the right fielder, but he's able to come in and make the play for out number 1. Pollock continues to not be real great with the bat. He's got a lefty on righty situation. He's supposed to be a splits guy there. But as I've seen out the course this year, you've been setting him up in good split situation where he's got that lefty matchup that in the past in his career, he's really feasted upon. But this year, he's really just not hitting it well. Ball 1 here to Caballero. Caballero is 1 for 2 in this game. He's got his average sitting up in 293 right now. Hits this one hard down the line. Caballero just does a good job. Everything comes off the bat so strong. Really does a good job barreling it up. Black Yoshi's a stupid haircuts win Super Bowls. Hasn't helped his son, Black Yoshi. Hasn't helped out Meth Face. Foul, 1-2. Barrow waving that bat around. Fouling it off again. Oh, no, he hits it to right field here. Right fielder's on it for out number 2. Quickly 2 men down here in the top of the 6. Nitro Hawk, who you want starting? Aaron Rodgers, Larry the Cucumber, or Leon Sandcastle? Larry the Cucumber's got the intangibles, but Leon Sandcastle with the 4.1640. I mean, hard to beat that 40, isn't it? Crawford steps up to the dish as the lineup turns over. Quickly takes 0-1 with 2 men out here. I'll go with Leon Sandcastle. Swing and a miss. Strike 2, 0-2. Tigers relievers have done a pretty good job here, kind of battening down the hatches. Outside, 1-2. Battening down them hatches. Knocked on the ground. Pitcher's up with it, and he will throw Crawford out. 1, 2, 3. Mariners go down in order. We'll go to the bottom of the 6th. See if Marco Gonzalez will continue to be the starter today. Oh, Nelly. Man, I'm back into lifting weights again, and my arms are so sore. A lot of lactic acid in there. Black Yoshi, who would you want starting as your quarterback? Brady in his 20s, 30s, or 40s? I would take Brady in his 30s. when he had really mastered the sport, but still had some young legs to him. Still a little bit of the spryness. Yeah, Big Country 30s Brady. That's a monster right there. There he does have an insane amount of potential. You can't even see his hands. You can't, man. That's not to be underrated. Have a great day. Corporate got you pushing too many pencils. What's wrong, Bennett? Corporate got you pushing too many pencils. How you doing, Dutch? Nitro Hawk, who would be the best NFL player? Shaq, Kareem, Tim Duncan. Shaq. Shaq would have been. You put Shaq at tight end and you throw him the ball. Who the F is tackling Shaq in the open field on a seam route? Who's and then 7 feet tall with all that, you know. He's just gonna be throwing people away. Shaq would have been insane. Marco gets a call there, strike one on that pitch. That looked about 4 inches outside. The ump gave it to him. First batter here. See if Marco can at least get through this inning. Give the Mariners 6 good strong. Shaq was completely ridiculously freakish nitro and just, I mean, the big and the way he moved. He was a unicorn. So many respects. 1-2 here for Gonzalez. Spencer Torklinson is up at the plate. Boy, if my last name is Torklinson, I don't want my mom and dad to name me Spencer on the front end of that. You know? Let's not highlight how that ball's going to be hit up in the air for a fly out. I already sound like I'm going to a boarding school with that last name. Don't reinforce it with Spencer. Like Yoshi Brandon. Brando, you son of a Niner fan? Mm-hmm. The hell you say? Like Tim Duncan would have somehow figured out a way to bank everything, and even in football. He'd be telling the quarterback, just bank it off the uprights, I'll catch it. Ball here to Andy Ibanez. 1 man down. Sam the Great, it's too unfair to have NBA players receiving in the NFL. It would be. You put like LeBron or somebody like that out there, it'd be just, their hands would be ridiculous. I always remember even when going playing catch the football, it was always interesting to me that like after you played a lot of basketball, balls hit up into the air. High and deep, this thing's carrying. Teoscar catches it, boy. Teoscar, just a casually great catch. He's giving pursuit. Seems like he's got it tracked the whole way and just sort of sticks his glove out at the last minute, casually reaching out to grab it. The most casual, good, really nice play you'll see. On it the whole way. It was funny the way he played that. It's actually a really tough play. He made it look kind of easy. Black Yoshi, I remember Kareem Abdul. I remember that running back for the Dolphins. Little undersized guy. Nitro Kareem would just be throwing skyhooks. Ball hit on the ground hard to J.P. Crawford. He's up with it and throws him out. Route number 3. So a quick, easy inning of work here from Marco Gonzalez. He'll get through the bottom of the 6th inning. No hits, no runs. Mariners maintain the lead 6-2. But Sam the Great, it always, to me, was interesting where you play a lot of basketball and just how much now you trust your hands when you start throwing a football around and how much you can feel the carryover a little bit. Because in basketball, so much of what you're doing is at times one-handing it. You know, if you're down in the post, or you're throwing a pass, you're getting comfortable with the ball just being in one hand at any given one time rather than having to have both hands on it. Sam the Great, didn't LeBron play high school and did receiver in high school? He did. Yeah. Pretty risky for him back in the day to do that for all he had ahead of him as a player on the court. But yes, he was a receiver. Good luck covering that guy in the open. 6'8", running probably a 4.3. You know, what are you going to do? You ain't going to press him on the line of scrimmage. He'll kill you. Yeah, Nitro Cream just out there throwing the sky hook passes from the pocket. Hey, you never have any balls batted down, right? But boy, the wind up on him. Mark says, B, have you the view of the MTMIL? MTMIL. He looked like a young Bobby to me. Hawks might have a future star in the UDFA. I have not. I feel a little bad, Mark, because definitely I'm getting a lot of questions with the UDFAs coming in, and there's a lot of people that are excited on a lot of the individual guys coming in. But the issue for me is the channel right now is really best with me getting out the rookie videos, and unfortunately, I just take a really long period of time on those videos to get them out. They'll take me 3 or 4 days, as opposed to I know some of these people can pump these videos out in like 24 hours. And I just can't. I just don't have that ability to do them that fast. So I have to kind of like, even once the stream wraps up today, I'm going to be bouncing over onto the Kenny McIntosh video and starting to work on that one. And then eventually I'll get down to the UDFAs and looking at those guys at that point. But unfortunately, I just haven't had quite the time to really look into those guys and dive too deep into them. But I want to, because there's some guys that I'm really excited about. JP, Ty France, first pitch swinging here, knocks to the second baseman. That will be out number 1 here in the top of the 7th. Sam the Great, how would Witherspoon stop that? I don't know. Pretty much unguardable on anybody that's under 6'3" at the corner position is all going to be, because you know he can out jump you. He's going to moss the hell out of you. You know. Black Yoshi, what sport has more rigged officials, basketball or football? I guess I'll go basketball, but I think basketball and football are a lot more closer than they are further apart. And I do think that the influence of both of those two, it has too much effect on both two sports games. But and I don't know if I go to full rigging, but I do go to like one team getting calls over the other, you know. Where you have like back-to-back years here where 2 years ago the Rams are playing the Cincinnati Bengals. You don't have a, defensive pass interference called the whole game, and then you call it for the first time at the end of the game right on a super key play. And then you saw that very same thing play out again this year in the same kind of manner. There you go. That's a little dodgy. Montana linebacker, Mark. I'll take him out. I promise you I will check him out. That'll be as soon as I get through the McIntosh video. The next, I might have to do a quick Cameron Young video too, but after I get that one down, then the next video I'll be jumping on is going to be on a UDFA breakdown, guys to be excited about, and then I'll be looking at their film a little bit more thoroughly at that time. Julio fouled this one off of, it looks like the hand of the catcher there. That's why those catchers used to take their off hand and put it behind their back at times. Or no, it looks like it hit him was it the groin that got him? He's walking like it caught him in the old junk. He's walking very gingerly. Got a smile on his face. That's why you wear a cup. Julio's got a 1-2 count here now against Holton. 1 man down. Julio with a 2-run single earlier in this game. Good eye there by Julio. 2-2. Lions Planet, hockey is the least rigged. I'd say that's right. Black Yoshi, if the hockey was rigged, the Leafs would have won a cup. Big facts. Low, ball 3. Good job here by Julio to get this stretched into a full count now. Got to come back with that fastball. Something that Julio has not seen a lot of this year. Nice job by Julio. Digs that pitch out low, and another base hit to the same place of the field that he hit it earlier. Great job. And he didn't give him a fastball. The pitcher did not break, did not give in. And Julio able to get down and dig that one out. Big smile on his face. It's got to feel good coming out with 2 hits in this game. Ball was right there, close. He had to protect. Good amount of movement out on the outside part of the plate. He just dug it out. Nice job, Julio. Jared Kelnick up now. Tigers have Got a lot of left-handed relievers. Strike right at the knees. Nitro says it's crazy how Iverson was a better quarterback than basketball player. Yeah, he was just a little too early, wasn't he? Before his time when that was really appreciated in that way. Yeah, they remember about the basketball refs too, is they literally had one of their own caught and hit as a mobbed up ref. So they do have that on their resume, does the NBA. And I fail to believe that was just a one-off where that guy was just somehow, some maverick out there just doing this, No. The NBA covered that one up. 1-1 count here to Jared Kelenic. Julio gets his lead from first. Low, ball 2. It says one of our players had his head bounced 7 times, and the player who caused it should have been out of the game. He only got a 2-minute minor, and the guy was laughing at him. Sounds like hockey to me, Megan. Ball's hit foul by Kelenic. 2-2 now. By Yoshi hit on Tucker was clean. Two. 3-2. Both Kelenic and Julio here in this inning have done a good job and really being patient at the plate. Not swinging at anything out of the zone. See if Julio's going here on the 3-2 pitch. No. Kelenic hits it up high. He just got a little bit underneath it. Some solid contact, but just got a bit underneath it. And that'll be popped out into short left field. Out number 2. Lions Planet says, I actually think baseball is the easiest to fix because you can use balls and strikes around the strike zone as a way to cheat a team winning or losing the ball game. You kind of can, but there's only so much, especially with now the pitch tracing and tracking and what they're using in that, where there is only so many calls every game that you see they're out of the zone. I mean, what do you get at average? Maybe 4 or 5 pitches really that the umpires miss on in a particular game. With baseball and with basketball and football, there's so much subjective rules, Lions Planet, whether you can apply those rules when you want or not apply them in other cases where you decide not to. And that opens up more of that door to me to being able to fix stuff. I think baseball is a little more limited, especially once they go to the automated strike zone where there is no umpires and, where it is just then the computer determining what's a strike and what's a ball. 0-1 here to Eugenio Suarez, looking for his first hit in this game. Hits it off the end of the plate, and there we go. Base hit, Julio. Runners on first and second. Come on now, let's go. Let's get a little bit of an add-on here. A little bit of breathing room. Lions Planet, our pitcher Boyd sucks. He had a tough day, man. Yeah. He had a bit of a tough road today. The other relievers haven't been too bad for you guys, though. They've been pretty good. All the earned runs, I think, went to him, and then Engbert got one, but everybody else has been pretty solid. Like we indeed are going to get a pitching change here now. Lions Plans has got to give the Kraken credit. You guys knocked out the defending champs, Avalanche. Did indeed. We're feeling pretty good about ourselves for being just an expansion story. Lions Plan, I'm a Tigers fan if you can't tell. Feel for you a bit, man. Looks like you guys are in a bit of the state that we were 2 years ago where you're just starting to kind of turn things over a little bit and, find your way, with the team. So I do feel for you when you're in that stage of things and it's a little dark and there's not a lot to be excited about on your team, and Miguel Cabrera is just about on his way out, and you're a little bit like, boy, where's the light at the end of this tunnel? And it's going to probably take a while. That's the nature of baseball a little bit, is you got to be a little more patient than other sports. Lions Pan, we need to get rid of Boyd. I don't know. I don't know who he is. Very well may after today if he can't get through 2 innings as a starter. Black Yoshi says Seattle's dominance over Denver continues. We own Colorado. That's our state. There are little B. There are little B-I-T-C-H. Oh, little bitch. Aren't the Tigers in second place? Are they in second place? At 17-19. Showing the Reggie Jackson home run where he hit the light tower. That guy had some power. All right, Teoscar Hernandez steps up to the plate. Teoscar is 0 for 3 in this, average down to 211. Like to see him get a little ribby here. Play a little bit of tack on. The Tigers are going to go through their whole bullpen in this game. First pitch swinging, fouled down the third base side. Black Yoshi, Brandon, did you see the video of McIntosh smoking a cigar after going back-to-back for Georgia? I did not. But I think it's cool when those kids do that. It's hard to do that. You might as well celebrate that, you know. But I'll probably be checking it out, I'm sure, here as I'm going to start to do my film work on him now tonight and tomorrow and putting together that McIntosh video for the channel. So I'll be doing more of a dive into him than I've done even just the initial film look when I was scouting him. He's a good player, though. We got an 0-2 count here to Teoscar. Outside, good eye by Teoscar there. Catcher by the Tigers, boy, he frames the hell out of everything. I think it'd be 5 inches off the plate, and that Tigers catcher is still going to try to pull that back in. 1-2. Low, ball 2. Mariner batters this inning have done a great job. Julio, Kelnick, Hernandez have all done a very nice job of getting a little bit more deeper into these counts, even when they start out a little bit behind the 8 ball, as far as the strikes and balls are concerned. 2-2 pitch here to Teoscar. Hits it down, base hit. This is going to score. Julio on the ground. Nice job. Julio will make his way around. A little tack on there. Nice ending of hitting here for the Mariners. Just love what I'm seeing from these guys in this inning. Teoscar just pulled it right through the hole past the shortstop. 7-2 Mariners. Let's go. Megan says, B, did I tell you I broke my thumb after the Kraken game yesterday? Well, I didn't. Didn't quite put my hand through the glass, but was close enough. Oof. Ow. Take care of that thumb, Megan. Take care of that thumb. Gotta let that thing heal. Ball, first pitch swinging, hit up in the air there by Tom Murphy up to the first baseman, and that will be out. So we go to the midway through the 7th inning here. Mariners are up 7-2 after tacking on another run. Black Yoshi, let's hope he does that in Seattle back-to-back. Geno does that what Russ didn't. That would be awesome, Yoshi. Could you imagine going back-to-back Super Bowls? Oh, my goodness. But he's a hell of a player. And to have him as your 4th running back on your roster is better than any way that we've looked at in the history of the Seahawks organization as far as their running back room is concerned. We've been 1 and 2 deep at times. There have even been moments where we've been having a flirtation of being 3 deep. But we've never had a running back room that is 4 deep like this running back room is. And it's, I think, going to be so beneficial to the Hawks in so many different ways, from the talent being able to stay strong throughout the course of the year, even when it has to undergo some injuries, to the way that you're able to utilize these guys. Charbonnet can catch. McIntosh can absolutely catch out of the backfield, and he can line up as a receiver. And so you have some flexibility in how you use these guys on top of them being just really good, talented players. Lions Plant says we need to trade Eduardo Rodriguez. He is pitching lights out right now. We need young assets to fill our farm system, which is one of the worst in Major League Baseball. I think it's the path that you have to go here, Lions Planet. I know it's not for every team. I think it's the path that we finally went, where you're that in-between team for years in and years out. You're a team that tries to talk yourself through the offseason of making that one or two signings that will push you up over the top. And you never get to a place of really rebuilding things, really just getting things down to kind of a foundational place. And Mariners had this problem for years, and we would make big free agent signings when our roster really wasn't ready to go for it. The team would top out at 87, 88 wins. We finally got to a point where we said, nope, take it down, offload the assets for how we can offload them. We've got a closer here. We can go move to go get Jared Kelenic. And then include in Robinson Geno in the deal, get that money off the books, clear the money off the books as well, because you usually at that point end up in a spot where there's a lot of bad money on your books. But once you do that, now you open the door to turning this thing around. And then you just have to let the patience of those young guys develop through the farm system, not make any bad trades, let the guys that are young at the major league level get their 500 plate appearances that are hitters, let the pitchers figure out how to work these hitters at the major league level. And you get back around on it. But it is a couple of years process, really, Lions Planet it is. And it does require that faith as a baseball fan to trust the process and know that you're going to get there if you're doing things right that way. And our Mariners finally did, and that's one of the reasons that we're now starting to get things turned around here. So Gott is going to come out for the Mariners out of the bullpen as Marco Gonzalez's day is done with 6 innings of work and 2 earned runs. Great job by Marco. Did just a good job pitching to contact, only ended up with 1 walk on the day, stayed in that strike zone. Absolutely fabulous. Gott has gone right out the gate here to Miguel Cabrera, 3-0 again. Boy, these guys are scared of Miguel Cabrera like he's still prime Cabrera, I guess. But he throws him a strike 3-1. Ball 4. Jeez. Don't walk a guy hitting 180. What are you scared of? Throw a strike. Megan says, can you explain why a 4 running back deep room is so good for the Hawks? Isn't that too many to have? No, Megan, look at the recent history of the running back room. And I've called it the beast most curse. You've had your running back room decimated for like 7 straight years to the point that you always have to be bringing guys off the street. A couple of years ago, we had to go get Alex Collins. Last year, we got that one running back that was in starting for us for a couple of games. You've had to go and dive into that running back depth. And so you need to kind of correct off that. This ball's first pitch swung up in the air, right to left field. Kelenick's under it. He's got a line, and he will make the catch for out number 1 here in the bottom of the 7th. So this is really as much of anything about reacting to the way the situation has played out in recent years, Megan, and I think they're actually smart for doing so. So you need that depth. You need those guys in there that can get it done. We have a time at this point this year, Megan, a schedule where we have 12 days. We're going to play 3 games, 3 football games in 12 games. You're going to be calling on that running back depth at that time. You're not going to ask Kenneth Walker to go 20 carries through those 3 straight games. So somebody's going to get injured. The depth will get challenged. You're not going to start out as strong as the 4 that you start out that you're running with, but you're going to need to call upon all of those guys at some point during the year would be my opinion. And rather than before where we had no confidence in those moments when you start to go to Travis Homer or DJ Dallas, I'm going to have a lot more confidence now going to a Charbonnet, going to a McIntosh. A lot more confidence. 0-2 here for Gott. Strike 3 on Rodgers. Gets him to swing and miss. Tell you what, Gott comes in throwing that 94, 95 mile an hour fastball after you've been looking at 89 and 90 from Gonzalez. Must look like it's coming in at about 102. Sam the Great says, I love the JSN pick, but I love the JSN pick the most, but that Zach dude was a great value pick. He's a beast. He is a beast. He's a legitimate NFL running back. Good selection there. A guy that's going to give you returns instantaneously and help to keep that running back room really strong. He can do it. He's a good back. Really good back. Kind of underrated in this draft, I think, when it was all said and done. Strike 1 here. Gott gets a little bit of a call there at the top of the zone with 2 outs in the bottom of the 7th. Gott comes set. High. Hey. Black Yoshi says, remember old man beast mode in the playoffs. There's another year, Megan. We had a year we had to bring out beast mode and dust him off. Have him set down the Hennessy and get out there and go. This is a base hit out to right field, hit hard. We'll have 2 runners on now here. But yeah, as I say it, Megan, I'm not overstating it. Since beast mode left in 2015, every year your running back room has been decimated. Every year you're having guys go down with season-ending injuries, and then their backup going down with season-ending injuries, and then you're down to your third back. They had to at one point or another correct that strategy and that approach, rather than just thinking, oh, well, this year we're going to get lucky. We only need 2 guys. One of them will stay healthy for sure. Not necessarily. All right, 2 men out now. Outside corner there, strike on Javier Baez. Strike 1. Wu-Tang says K9 is a beast, but he's also 5'9". You want guys that can run through contact a bit. Yes, I agreed. And you especially just don't want to put him in position on top of your point, Wu-Tang, where you're asking him to then run in short yardage situations and be that kind of running back. Get a bigger hammer guy to take that load off of him if you can. 1-1 here to Javier Baez. 2 men out. God, taking a long time to going to put this pitching clock all the way down here. 3, 2, 1. Outside. God hasn't looked quite very comfortable this inning coming out of the bullpen for the Mariners. Two, 1. Outside. Ball 3. Come on, man. You got plus stuff, kid. Make them beat you on the plus stuff. You got a 7-2 lead. Stop with the nibbling. Ball's hit up in the air. Skied real high up. France is underneath it in foul territory, and he will bring it down. For out number 3, a little bit of a threat there by the Tigers, but God able to close down the hatch. 7-2 here as we are going to go into the top of the 8th inning. Lions Planet, I can't wait for my Lions versus the Seahawks again. Going to be a fun one. Oh, man, we got the scoregami last year, Lions Planet. Wasn't that awesome? Offense. And I have a feeling, Lions Planet, that it's going to be very similar again in this upcoming game here on the road at 10 a.m. again, where you're probably going to see a lot of fireworks, a game where both teams could have once again end up scoring 30 points in that game. So it'll be a fun one. I think the thing that does help us on that is I was aware of you guys do have Williams, that talented young receiver that you're waiting on to really bloom. He's got that 6-game suspension now for the start of the year. And you did kind of get weakened down at the receiver position with Shark moving on. I think you had lost one other guy. I can't remember for sure on that, but that could be the thing that maybe impacts that just a little bit, especially with not having Hawkinson in this time like you had Hawkinson before. I know you guys got, I think, Laporta, or you drafted a tight end. One of those, I forget which one you took, but he'll help you. But it'll be a fun game. I think it'll be a tight matchup too. Megan says, I would have rather have covered quarterback with 1 or 2 running backs, but the quarterback class blew this year. Mm-hmm. That's the part we get back to, Megan, of, if we say I would have liked to have gotten a defensive tackle here, I would have liked to have gotten an offensive lineman here. Well, then that is also, as I say, you got to pick a strategy when it comes to the draft. Do you want to draft for value or do you want to draft for need? And if you want to draft for need, and we say that's what we're going to do, well, then we have to understand that philosophy is what drove you to ruins in your draft from about 2015 to 2019. That was what set you down a pathway to failure. It's when it comes to drafting. And I lean more to the value at that point, Megan, where those needs are there. They are apparent. They are things you'd like to address if you can, but you also don't break yourself up if you can, as long as you are trusting the value on the board, I think. Megan says, I just think I understand what you're saying. We had bigger holes. That's the thing, though, with that, Megan, is the bigger holes elsewhere and reaching for another player, another position with that other pick. The value is not there for that player as much. So now you're reaching for need. And that may not sound like that big a deal again, but you go back, Megan, if you can. I'd offer, go back and study up on those drafts from 2015 to 2019. Look at the players you selected. Look at the players you selected with where your roster and your depth was at. Those selections were driven at that point from need mostly. And first pitch swinging up in the air here. This is going to be a fly out. That's the problem with it, is when you get that mindset, that's where it takes you to. It has you not trusting your board as much now. You're now putting your trust and faith in filling holes and needs on your team. When you might fill it with a player, you might go get a warm body, but it doesn't mean that that's necessarily the most talented player or the way to build out the most talented, fruitful team. So one man down now. Caballero is going to come back up to plate here, top of the 8th inning. And yeah, we always like to run the ball. No doubt about that, Wu-Tang. Pete wants to run. Megan, can't you do both? No. This is the issue that I see coming into it, Megan, because that's what I got in a lot of debates this year and talking to people about this, that we're turning this very subject over in regards to the draft. You do not get to have your cake and eat it too. That's not the way the world works with this type of stuff. And that's not what we've been trained in. This is more so, Megan, than doing the gut instinct thing. It's more about analyzing the way drafts play out every year. What takes teams to success? What takes teams to failure? And it would be great to be like, oh, we're going to do everything perfectly. We're going to have this beautiful balance of need and value. But what happens is when you end up going down the road of need, you end up wholly down the road of need. There is no balance game there of, we'll do a little this here, a little there. Caballero hits this up into the air, and this will be out number 2 as center fielder is right underneath it for the Tigers. So that's my one issue with that, is that all sounds well and good to say that in a theory standpoint, but it doesn't play out that way. Your Ravens team, that team that you so love, the reason that they have been able to be so consistently good over these 10, 15-year span is because they stay to the value of their board. They don't pick for need. They don't do that at all. It's all about value of their selection. And you've got to stay, as I've used the words militant, I've used the words fundamentalist, Megan. You have got to stay in that pocket in that manner if you're going to take that approach. And if you want to go be a need team, you can do that, but then you've got to go take that wholly. There is no, I split the difference. And we come back to this again and again, talking about this on this team from a variety of different standpoints, Megan. You've got to pick a lane. You've got to pick a philosophy. What do you want to be as a team? How do you want to win games? How do you want to build your team? You can't do this, I'm going to do partly of this, or I'm going to do partly of this. It's not a buffet. You got to pick a tract and an approach. And so I've heard that often said, we'll do a balance of both. We'll just balance the both off. And I've seen too many times that does not lead to success taking that approach. You just end up back in Needville as opposed to operating in Valueville. And that's the place where I really want to be. Crawford strikes out there, swing and a miss on the 3rd strike. That will close out the 8th inning, as we will, or not close out, but that will close out the top of the 8th inning. So we'll go to the bottom of the 8th. Mariners still maintain a 7-2 lead. So this is just my personal belief on it, Megan. I don't think that you can do both. I think you end up in that need range more than you end up in the value range when you start trying to do kind of both. You got to just run it by value. Trust that you're building up the team in the way you are at that point. Augment where you're missing in the other spots if you have to, in trades and whatnot, free agency. But that's where you do that stuff to me, Megan. You want to talk about building the need or addressing needs or setting that, then do that in free agency. Do that via a trade. Don't do that in the draft. That's not the place to go do that stuff, in my opinion. Lions Planet, what were your thoughts on the Hendon Hooker selection? I'm okay with it because he fell to us in the 3rd round, so the value is really good there. I had a 3rd round grade on Hendon Hooker, and one that was a grade that I put on him, Lions Planet, where I said, if you're taking him in the 3rd round, I feel so good about that, because this is a guy, if he played out all of the year last year, very likely has a really good chance of winning the Heisman, probably elevates himself even a little bit being an older prospect into being a 1st round selection, maybe the back of the 1st round, but he would turn himself into a 1st round selection. So by the Lions getting that in the 3rd round, you're getting basically 1st round value that dropped down into that round for understandable reasons, his age and the torn ACL. But the value is still then there for that player. You also now have insurance for the Jared Goff negotiations, where Jared Goff can't hold you up over the barrel, Lions Planet, and make you pay him all the money. Or if he's asking, if you can't lock him into a contract that's kind of similar along the lines of what we've been able to do with Geno Smith, then you can go to him and say, okay, you're asking for too much. We'll just lean back into Hendon Hooker here. And so now you have that as your kind of a backup option there. You never as an organization want to be held over that barrel where you don't have the backup option, where you're going to be left desperate at your quarterback position right about the timelines, Planet, that you have a roster that's ready to contend, ready to compete, as your Lions team is just about ready to do so. So very good pick. Love the selection. Smart selection by your team. Megan says, I'm missing something clearly, B. I don't get it. So if the need is there, but the value is not, you ignore the need. So if the need is there, but the value is not, you ignore the need. That makes no sense to me, but I have only watched 2 full drafts, so I may be missing. Well, that's where I try to bring up the metaphor of the cake and eat it too. What you're kind of supposing here is that you can do both things at all of your picks. We can go get what we need for need, and that's going to align out also with value. So you're making the mistake here, Megan, of thinking that both of those things are attainable rather than thinking I've got to make a decision of one or the other. I have to pick one. I don't get to have the choice of having both. So which is the one that you want to pick? You come up to a selection. Okay, Megan? You come up to your pick and you're the team picking. Megan, you're the general manager selecting. You look across the room up to your board and you have a board of players aligned right there, right? They're all stacked up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a power ranking of the players that remain on the board as you value them organizationally. As you, Megan, as a general manager, has sat down and valued those players, okay? So you value those players. You got your list there, okay? What we're talking about and what you're advocating for doing is, by reaching for need, is that it comes up to your selection. Oh, Megan, we're on the board. You're general manager. We got to pick. And you look to that board and you see a player there at the number 1 slot who's the most talented player that you have to pick in that position. And instead of grabbing that guy, you go down to pick 7. You go down to slot 7 on that board because you want to reach for need rather than going for value. That's as simple as I can kind of place it as far as how easy this should be to understand on that. You do not get to have both. And what you're thinking of on this is that you get to do both here. I'm trying to pull you out. You can't do both. You got to make a pick of one or the other. Which one do you want to make? Do you want to go for the number 1 guy on the board, or do you want to go for the number 7 or the number 10th guy on the board because you want to address the line? And that's it. This isn't even really like a theoretical conversation, Megan. This is, again, I'd offer you, I think, to draw some clarity on this. You should go do some research on the drafts from 2015 to 2019. Look at how the Mariners drafted. Look at how their process played out. Look at the picks that they made for the needs that they had on the team at the time and how that led them astray, how that caused failures, how that caused general manager John Schneider to come around now here in this offseason and say, you know what, we had to reverse course. We had to change our course. We had to do something differently than we've been doing the past couple of years. Schneider's talked about this, Megan. I mean, you've seen these interviews, right? Where he's speaking about this stuff. You know about this stuff, right? On it? You told me you can't leave it all the trades, and you told me do it in the draft though. You got a roster build to the draft, but I didn't say that you need to move to need in the draft at any time. So is there things that you're going to probably have to address at some point in the draft to help fill out your team? Yes. But if you're talking about needing to work towards need, something we need on our team, not to build for the future or to build up a base, but the need, we need a left guard on the team. Well, go get that done in a trade or go get that done in free agency. Don't go make that your first selection because you have the need for the left guard. Again, I think sometimes, Megan, we get in these conversations and I can sense you'll make them super complicated where I'm trying to draw it down to more simplicity. And when you're overriding it to a complicated point, it doesn't have to be. Take my example here if you can. Just respond to this on this. You're the general manager sitting there in the room, okay? Throw everything else out, Megan. You're looking at the big board I talked about. The players are stacked up on that board 1 through 999. You have valued them with your scouts, with your player personnel, with your coaches, with that number grouping. You come up and you need a left guard. That left guard is 8th on your board. You have a cornerback who is far and away your number 1 guy on the board. Do you go to 8th or do you take the superstar star corner? That's think of it in those simple terms on every single pick facing that kind of situation. Just reapply that on every pick and think of it. Don't think of anything else. Think of it just simply as that. And I think that this should not be that complicated at that point. That should be a pretty easy to understand. That drop from player 1 to 8 is a far drop in talent at that point. That's what you're making. That number 8 guy ain't up there near the number 1 guy. It's in a different spot, completely different spot. But some of this is, again, coming back to, I'm not trying to be ridiculous, to say, go back and look at those drafts from 15 to 19, and there'll be more clarity here for you on that, I think, if you can see that. Because I think you got to kind of put that a little bit into the forefront here to understand why I'm harping so much against going towards that need. I know you overthink it. That's why I try to get to simple examples for you, Megan, because you simplify it down, and then we don't have to get so complicated. You're the general manager. You're sitting in that room. You're looking at that big board. Put yourself in that place. Visualize it, Megan. Visualize. Pete's right next to you. Jody's right here. You're looking at that board, 1 through 999 players that you have precisely graded out prior to the draft, right? Just think of it like that. And you got to make the pick. Do you go for the player number 1 on the board, or you go for 11? Do you go for number 1, you go to 14, because that's the need. What's the smarter way to go there? Greg, I think Witherspoon allowed the least pass completions, if I'm mistaken. Sounds about right. I got a little distracted here. Tigers, we're going to kind of let's stay on baseball for the most part, folks. We got 2 more innings, so I know we've talked a lot of football here today, and I know folks are really excited about football, but I just did a live 4-hour show yesterday. We've done 2 shows in the past few days. This is where I know it's going to be hard to do the Mariners stream, because it's going to keep turning back over to football, but let's put a button on the football talk until we get to like Sunday and stuff on that, so we can kind of stay with more. It's getting a little bit, we're starting to get kind of sidetracked here a little bit onto the football side, which I don't mind talking some football, but I mean, I might as well just be streaming over on the Hawks Nest, as we got a Mariner game going here. The ball's hit on the ground. Looks like a double play ball. Crawford makes a great play to double him up there. The Mariners are able to get the 3 outs through the inning. No damage done. We go into the bottom of the 9th inning. Mariners will maintain their lead 7-2. I am said what number 1 doesn't always count, mean that their value in the draft number, but was it you who said that number 1 doesn't always mean that their value is in the draft? I didn't say that, Megan. I didn't say that about the number 1 value. I think you're confusing me with someone else. The number 1 player you have on the board is your most valuable player measured up against the other players you have in the draft at that point, meaning that you think his upside is him as a player is going to be better than any other player that is beneath him. And the further and deeper you get down on that board, the more that there is a difference between that level of talent. So you go 1 to 7, you're looking at a wide discrepancy of talent level at that point to reach towards need. John Lee, we've got this. And no, I didn't just curse it. You didn't curse it. We got enough of a buffer here. If this was the Houston team, I might be a little more worried. Megan, general manager, head coach. Yes, I know you want to be head coach, but for this exercise, Megan, I'm having you put on the general manager hat in order to understand this a little bit just more completely. I'm kind of what I'm trying to say. Megan says for need in that example, you take 8 every time. Yeah, you take 8 every time, but then that's, again, you fill your needs at that point, Megan, but you don't build a more talented team. Your team is less talented, but the needs are met. That's the offshoot of that. And that's where I say there's the no cake and eat it too. You're going to pay a price somewhere. Where's the prices that you want to pay? You're not able to fill every single need, or you build up the most talented team. You got to pick one or the other, not both. Which one do you want to pick? And if you say need, well, that's what they did from 15 to 19, and it failed. So maybe that's not the best way, right? Yeah, I don't know why, Megan. So we can stay on this a little bit, Megan. I don't know why you'd want to build for need when I'm telling you right now, it sometimes we have our talks and this stuff, and I can't get through, and I don't know why. I don't think you'll do it, but go look at 2015 to 19 drafting, and what you're asking for. You're saying, let's do this. Let's this thing we should do. We failed at that. That kept us from getting to Super Bowls. That kept us from being built to be an elite team. You built a team that was good enough to get to the playoffs, but you didn't build an elite team. So we've taken that road, we've gone down that trek, and it failed for us. I don't know why you'd want to go down that trek when it just so recently failed for us. That seems like it's going to fail again if you take the same road that you just went down. Your general manager over the last 2 years has said, Megan, the reason that you've had the successful drafts is because of the fact that you arched away from need and went to value. He's given 15 interviews this offseason where he has spoken about it on every single interview. I'm a little awestruck you would lean in that direction. Wu-Tang, Julio needs a dinger to cap today off for sure to get his mind right. He does indeed. We got one runner on her first. France bangs a single through. Mariners can play a little bit of add-on here. That would be nice. Got a 1-0 count. Hits it hard. Down the line. This is going to carry. This ball is going to get out. Home run! Mariners, Julio gives it a ride opposite field. His third hit of the game. 2-run home run out to right. He sent that out on a line. Well, maybe Julio getting around to getting right. We saw with Jared Kelenic, him turning the corner this year, really based around somewhat of the utilization of the opposite field. And when you start to see that oppo power like that, just going with the pitch, very nice to see. Julio just gave that a beautiful ride. Boy, he's got such a beautiful swing. 9-2 Mariners. Who was calling for the home run for Julio? Let's see, who was that? Wu-Tang, you called it, man. Sean Lee called it. Sorry. Sean Lee called it. There we go, Sean. Sean gets the Babe Ruth moment of the night. How about that? And he goes oppo power. Kelenic up, swing and a miss. Still nobody out in this inning. 0-2. May says, well, my way of looking at it is if you build the team for need, aren't you building for what the team needs to succeed? No, you're building to fill positions. You're not building a talented roster. And I think you're missing on that, Megan, is that you need and Jared swings and misses on third pitch there, strike 3. The problem comes into play, Megan, is that you work towards need and you're not building the most talented team. And the Mariners have been talent deficient going back since the Legion of Boom days. And so you fill needs. You have a roster where you have 4 running backs and you have all the right guards and all the right people and all the right stuff, but it doesn't mean you have the most talented team or a team that's going to compete with other teams that are most talented in the league. Or if you go up against those teams that aren't allowing need to drive their drafting, but simply just go for value, you're not going to be able to compete with those type of teams that are operating in that manner. That's the problem with that approach. It's the talent thing you're missing with this, where you're thinking you get to go to need, yet you get to keep the equivalent level of talent out on the field, which you don't get to do. I keep coming back to the cake and eat it too. You're thinking with need that you get the exact same equivalency as talent that you get by going to value. And that's where I'm drawing a bit of an issue is that's not the way that plays out. When you go for need, now you're getting the less talented guy. You're getting the guy that's going to be opposite another guy is going to be more talented than him. You filled the spot, you filled the need, you filled the hole, but just filling that doesn't mean that guy's talented or good. And Eugenio strikes out here on 4 pitches. So quickly 2 down here in this inning. Megan says, as far as I can tell, and I'm no JS, could be wrong, that value doesn't always work. Well, I guess if you're going to mention it in that way, Megan, then you've got to back up your argument on that. Can you go ahead and give me examples of that not working as an approach, of organizations allowing that to lead the day for them and that failed for them, that allowed them to not become an elite? I can give you examples of teams over the last 10 years that have been able to have pretty good consistency in their organization and not a lot of turnover that's maintained that approach, like I've mentioned your favored Ravens, and that's brought them that type of success. So and again with John Schneider on this, he's come to this place, Megan, not simply because he just sort of thought about this one night and said, you know what, we're going to draw to value. He saw this because he saw the failures of need and drafting for need. You spent 4, 5, 6 straight years there drafting to need. And then John went, wow, that's failed for 5, 6 years. Let's try something new last year. Let's draft for value. Oh my God, we just had the best draft in Seahawks history. You're hearing that, Megan, and now you're advocating for going back to need. Can you understand how that seems to me a little bit unusual? Is that would be your approach at that point? 6 years, this thing fails. You change, you get a success. Now you're going to go back to the things that failed. Why? Megan says, so B, if you go for value, when does a player become a reach? You don't have any reaches if you're going for value, Megan. That's the whole point of going for value. It is the complete 180-degree opposite of reach. Reach is going for need. I reach for a player for need. You don't reach for a player when you're going for value. You're just trusting the purity of your board. You're saying, this is the best guy we got at this board. This is the guy that we've determined is our most talented player of all the available options that we have to select. This guy is it right here. Sam the Great says, we got the Red Sox and Braves after this series. We have to sweep the Tigers. Sure would help make us feel a little bit better about those upcoming series, wouldn't it? All right, so we're going to go to the bottom of the ninth here. Mariners are up 9-2, 11 hits, 1 error. Tigers with 2 runs, 2 errors. Marcos Gonzalez pitched a hell of a game here, 6 innings, 2 runs. Julio back on track a bit in this game with 3 hits, including a home run this last inning. Saucedo will come out on the bump for the Mariners, the lefty. Omega says, I see what you're saying. I'm not advocating for the Hawks to go back. I am saying what I myself would do right. That makes sense, and what I thought about reaching. Yeah, that's just why I'm so, like I say, fundamentalist about this, Megan, is it's been a thing that I've arrived at after a long period of time of studying these drafts and studying Schneider's process and studying the Seahawks process of what they do every draft and what was winning the day for them. And the fact that Schneider has mentioned it so many times this offseason, when he's asked about, Megan, how come you had so much better success last year as opposed to what you were having from the drafts in the prior 5, 6, 7 years? What did you guys do differently? The ball's hit quickly on the ground by Miguel Cabrera. We're not going to walk you here on this play. And quickly thrown over to first at France, so that will be 1 man down. So it's really an evolution over a long period of time of finally arriving at this spot. And then seeing last year the returns from operating in that pocket, Megan. Seeing this year the returns from operating in that pocket. The amount of real totality of talent that you're bringing in to bear now because you're able to stay so thoroughly in that mode. And that's gotten me to the place where now I'm going to say we got to lean on this. This is what will eventually get us back into the Super Bowl if we can stay in this pocket. But it's hard to do because the draw is always there to go back to need. All right. 1 man down, 9-2. Mariners are up here, bottom of the 9th inning. Saucedo with the pitch, strike. Not messing around, pumping in some strikes here right at the bottom of the zone. Good pitch. Rogers up the plate. He's got a hit today, low. Mr. Isaac Gilio checking back in. Not sure if this was asked, but do you know which week the Seahawks are wearing their old school uniforms? Don't know yet, man. They'll probably announce that in the next month or 2. Not quite yet, though. All right, 2-1. This ball's hit on the ground. Crawford up with it, throws it. Great play by Crawford. He's got a range deep into the hole, backhands it, and then just sort of throws it without anything on the ball, just kind of a loop throw. And it's got just loops it in just perfectly, but because he's getting the ball out of his glove into his hand so fast on that throw, he doesn't have to throw it with a lot of velocity in there to get the play made. Beautiful play by J.P. Crawford. Absolutely fantastic. He made that look easy. That's a tough play, ranging that far to that much depth. And the quickness of the handoff from the glove to the hand to get the throw off. Wonderfully done. 2 men out now. Swing and a miss. Quick 0-2 count here to Rogers. Rick Zabedo, am I going to make it out to any games this year? I'd like to try to get out to the west side if I can, Rick, but I'm a little undetermined at this point. I need to do a trip out to Maui as well, so it may get a little bit tight for me, but I would like to try to if I can. I'll definitely announce it if I do. I'll do a kind of maybe a meetup. Strike 3. Swing and a miss by Rogers. And that will wrap it up. So Saucedo comes in here, doesn't mess around at all. Gets 1, 2, 3 done, including a nice dramatic strikeout to finish it up. And the Mariners are going to take the first game of this series here in Detroit on what's going to be a little bit of a longer road stand here. So you love to see it as they do their little dance there at the center stage. And M's come out of it with a nice little win today. Good to see. Very, very good to see. Good win by the Mariners there. How about Julio maybe starting to come along? Do we ever need to see that? We ever need to see that? Mr. Isaac went back to Maui back in March. Love it. Every time we go. It's been a couple of years. I got to get back there. My mom's there, so as much as I got to do it for family reasons, you know. I'm starting to hear it a little bit. It's been a while since I've been there, so I got to do my sonly duty. My sonly duty. Good game, Lions Planet. See if you guys get back after it tomorrow, man. Get back after it tomorrow and see what happens. We just got on you a little bit today. Got after Boyd early on, and we're just able to kind of press down on you guys. Baseball can work like that sometimes. But a good game for our Mariners. We need Julio to get back on it. We need him playing at an MVP-like level to really get the most out of this team. And good to see him get back on that horse with 3 hits in this game. Ty France is starting to get his bat warming back up. Kelnick's still hanging in there, got himself a hit in this game. Single for a ribby. Now we just got to get Suarez and Hernandez going too in addition to it, and then we'll be good to go. We'll have this lineup cooking with oil at that point. All right. Well, we are going to wrap it up here on that note of things. I will maybe be back either tomorrow or Sunday. I think Sunday's maybe an early game, so we'll be definitely trying to shoot for that before we do the Seahawks stream. Been good talking with you guys here on the stream on this Mariners, as we're going to be doing more of these. So if you're not subscribed to the channel, do get subscribed to the channel. We're going to be doing, the goal is to try to get 80 games in the stream this year. So I think we're at about like 4 or 5 so far. I got some work to make up this month, but I will be going live often. So please do get subscribed up. And if I can't get on tomorrow, then we'll probably be back on by Sunday, but we'll be really cooking along over the next couple weeks here with the number of streams here on the channel. And I'll be trying to get some upload done as well here for the Mariners coverage. So as I can get some time to do that stuff. So I appreciate you guys. Good little win here by our Mariners. Good to see them really starting to just slowly but surely get up and warm up a little bit, get that pot boiling a little bit. And then, like I say, by the time we get to late June, July, maybe that we're really cooking and we can start hitting a couple of those nice 10, 11 game winning streaks, take like 8 or 9 straight series. Something like that. Wouldn't that work good well for you guys too? Megan, let's say a little prayer out there for the Kraken. See if they can get things turned around out there on their side of it. I know they've still got one more game there of fighting, so let's see if they can pull it back around. It's been a magical year for those boys, so let's keep it going, Kraken. But until I see you guys next, I hope you guys don't you ever forget. Never forget. Especially in this Mariner year here, we got some Mariner fans getting a little bit dodgy already, a little bit nervous already. You're starting to wring your hands a little bit already out there. Don't wring them hands. Have faith in this team. This is a new, different style of Mariners team. This ain't your daddy's Mariners team. It's a young, hungry group that's just getting warmed up. So let's see them ride together, my fellow Mariner fans, and never forget,